We do a farmer's market every Saturday morning, 7 months out of the year. So that takes a lot of prep work during the week to get ready to go to the market. Farmer's market is one of the main ways that we sell meat from our farm to local customers, and it has been a really great experience the past 4 years. So on this week's video, I plan to take you guys along for some of that prep work that goes in to those markets every Saturday morning. We sell about 80% of everything we raise on our farm through the farmers market, so it is definitely the biggest way to reach our customers. And we go there every Saturday morning with a trailer load of beef and chicken, and then whatever extra eggs that we have that week. I met most of my bulk beef customers through the farmers markets. When I first started out, I went to the markets mostly with the intentions of getting our farm name out there locally so that people knew we would be a source for them to get a quarter or a half beef. When I first started selling beef that way, I didn't have much of a customer base or a way to really promote my farm. So I thought going to those markets every weekend would be a great way for people to try some hamburger or a steak and then decide if they wanted to purchase beef in bulk. And that actually really worked out for us. Most of my bulk beef customers to this day are people that I met at the farmers market. And that was just a really good way for them to try a little bit of my meat, get to know me as their farmer, and then now purchase their beef in bulk. So that is definitely a big part of our farm business, is selling quarters and sides of beef. But we also sell a lot out by the cut through the markets every weekend. After going to the market for about 3 years and everyone asking if we also raised more meat on our farm, we decided to get pasture raised chicken. And I've talked about it on here before. These chickens not only produce healthy, nutrient dense meat raised on pasture, but they're also super beneficial to our pastures. And right now what we're doing is moving our cows to the pasture that the chickens are on. So I just set up really quickly a string fence around them so that the cattle don't mess with the chicken tractors. And we're going to go ahead and get the herd moved into that field. So we started fall grazing on our farm. So we're going to be rotationally grazing them, hopefully for a couple months here before winter really sets in. As we were moving the herd on to the next pasture, we wanted to catch this particular cow because we noticed she was limping, and we wanted to get her into the chute before we sent her on away from the barn and take a look at her foot. And we noticed that she has hoof rot, which we have treated a few cases of that this year, and we're not really sure why we keep having problems with it. But this particular cow, we gave her a shot of antibiotics and the limping went away just a few days later. So hopefully she is good to go and go on out with the rest of the herd and raise her baby for the year. I think one of the most challenging things about running a farm business like this is that you're really doing two separate businesses, or if you want to look at it like two separate full-time jobs. You're running a farm, taking care of all the animals, and trying to manage your farm in a way that is sustainable. And then direct marketing all of your meat is a whole other side of the business and a whole other job as well. It takes a lot of time and creative energy to run that side of the business. And that is where a lot of my time goes towards, is actually selling all of our products. So something that we have started in more recent years is selling online by shipping meat boxes out weekly via UPS. And while I don't have a huge inventory to really reach that to the scale that I hope to someday, so that's definitely something that we're building on, but it's more of a slow build as I build up the inventory to be able to also sustain that part of the business. But I think it's important to have different avenues and different ways for selling all of our products, so that way we can keep growing our farm as well and have an outlet for all of the meat that we're raising. I always have so many things floating around in my head of ideas that I want to do with this side of the business, but just finding the time to really dedicate towards it is very difficult. So a lot of times I'm just doing what I can to keep up and then just sort of chipping away at it little by little. I would love to be able to do more with social media and branding and offering more products, but for right now, I'm just getting the meat sent out to our customers' doorsteps every week, and that's just good enough in this season of life. I think it's really important to just slow down and enjoy the evenings on our farm and our homestead and just enjoy the lifestyle while trying to build the business up as well. So I've had to just sort of create a workflow and a routine on when I'm working on the farm and the business, and trying to just keep things at a pace that's manageable and enjoyable. We grew some dank corn in our garden this year for the first time, and I thought it would be really good to make some cornbread to go along with this chicken chili I'm making for dinner this evening. We really didn't get a lot of corn from our garden, but we did get enough to make a few rounds of cornbread or some cornmeal to go along with meals. So I thought it'd be really fun to try it out. I've never done this before, but it was really fun to ground up the corn and to make cornmeal completely from scratch like this with all farm fresh ingredients. So it's definitely something I look forward to doing more in the future. So hopefully next year we can get a better crop of corn in our garden. Plus, I just think it's so pretty to have, and the corn really added a pretty backdrop to the garden. So it's definitely something we're going to grow again and hopefully do a little bit better next round. There has definitely been a learning curve for me to incorporate cooking from scratch like this into my everyday routine. I really do try to cook most of our meals with as many farm fresh ingredients as I can and to cook as much from scratch as I can. We do live a very busy life. We have so much going on, but I've actually found that making meals and fitting this into the routine is fairly simple, but you just sort of have to utilize your time in the kitchen. So anytime the kids are happily playing or I get a nap time, I try to make sure I'm prepping something for dinner. It doesn't always have to be something elaborate, but just making sure that I'm either browning some ground beef, chopping up some vegetables, kind of getting an idea of what I want to have for dinner that evening, and then doing it throughout the day as I have time. And I kind of found that that just makes it seem a lot more manageable. And on days when I'm extra busy, I don't try new things. I just stick to what I know. But then when I get a little bit of time in the kitchen, like I had this evening, I will try making something new, like this cornbread recipe. And once you do something, usually you find out it was actually way simpler than you thought. And at least that's how it is for me. So that's sort of just how I've been able to make from scratch meals in my kitchen pretty much every night of the week. And a lot of it is just making sure that our freezer is stocked with meat, which is easy for us just because obviously we have plenty of beef and chicken on hand all the time, but then also making sure that I have meat thawed and ready to use in a meal. I don't always have a meal plan or know what I'm making, but if I have stuff in my refrigerator that needs to be used, then I can generally turn it into a from scratch meal fairly easily. So back to prepping for the farmers market this weekend. We go every weekend with our box trailer. So this is a trailer that we invested in 2 years ago, and it has made all the difference for us. Honestly, I think it's the reason I'm still able to sustain going to the farmers market every weekend. And this obviously is just very simple. It's just a box trailer with 2 deep freezers in it. And then we keep all of our market supplies in it. So my tent, my tablecloths, my tables, my whiteboards for prices, everything stays in the trailer. And then at the end of each market, I just plug back in the deep freezers and I go through them and try to inventory what I need to restock for the next week. I did the markets for a couple years just using our pickup truck, but that meant every Friday night I would have to load the empty deep freezers, totally restock them, and then load all of my stuff so that I could go to the market in the morning. And then when we got back home, we had to completely unload it because we obviously needed the truck for other farm things throughout the week. And that just became a really big job and a lot to try to coordinate, making sure the truck was available and ready to be loaded. So once we had kids and we were still sticking with this every weekend, we knew we had to make it more simple, and that box trailer has really just been the ticket for that. It is only for the markets, so it's always ready to go. All I have to do is, as I find time throughout the week, restock what I sold at the last week's market, and then just make sure I have enough in my freezers to go to the next market. And it has allowed us to bring a lot more meat to the markets each weekend because we couldn't fit these 2 big freezers on the truck. We could only use one freezer plus one really little freezer each weekend, and I was actually selling out most weekends before the market was even over just because I couldn't bring enough inventory. And also, I never knew what to bring. So, like, some weekends I would focus more on steaks, and then it would seem like everybody wanted roast that weekend. Or I would bring a lot more chicken, but people were looking for beef. So this way I have two freezers. One is dedicated to chicken and one is dedicated to the beef. This way I can stock them with plenty of meat to get me through the entire market without selling out every time. And I'm able to take pre-orders on my online store so that customers who don't really want to shop the market but they just want to be able to come and pick up their meat, they can place orders online and I have them there. And now I have plenty of space to also bring pre-orders with me every weekend as well. Saturday mornings always start out really early for us because we try to get down to the market at least an hour before it starts at 8 a.m. That way we have plenty of time to get everything set up and ready. Our farm is also about an hour away from the farmer's market, so we have just a lot of drive time to get there. So we usually try to leave the house fairly early. And the markets are definitely something that me and my husband tag team every weekend. So sometimes I'll stay home with the kids while he goes to the market, or we'll both go together with the kids, or he'll stay with the kids. So it's definitely takes the both of us to be able to do these every Saturday morning. But we really enjoy going down and connecting with our customers, and our customers are great. They come week after week, rain or shine, so it's really worth it to us to get out there and to get to these markets so that we can keep showing up for the customers.